Hi everyone, my name is John Conway and I'm a functional lead here at PwC Canada. It's my pleasure today to walk you through a manifesting scenario where the carrier changes the intended receiver on the manifest when it is in transit. As we go through the scenario, I will jump between representing a generator, a carrier, and a receiver of the waste being shipped. I will also be demonstrating the functionality of both the mobile application and the desktop application at different times. So to begin, we're logged in here as Carolyn Smith from Hughes and Hatchett Inc. Hughes and Hatchett Inc. has registered in the hazardous waste program with a role as a generator. So Caroline is going to be the initiator of the manifest that we will be showcasing today and will list one of the facilities on her account as a generator of the waste. So to initiate the manifest, first we select the New Manifest button. Our first step is to select the waste shipping facility or the generator of the waste. So we can search for facility by any of the search terms at the top of the page here. So for this particular scenario, we're going to search by the Ontario generator number of this particular facility. So I can enter that in here. So as expected, after entering in the full Ontario generator number, we're left with one result. But of course, I can review multiple results, and I can look at the generator number, company name, facility name, and also the facility location for each of the results. But as I said, for this particular scenario, we're left with just one facility to select. So I can do that selection just by clicking on the radio button here, and then clicking on Save and Next. At this point here, the chevrons at the top of the page have been updated to indicate we are now on the carrier section. And here we can search for the carrier by these fields here. So let's assume for this particular scenario that we actually already know the ECA number. So I can enter it into this field here. And the carrier that matches that particular ECA number is going to be shown in our search results. Once more, I can review the search results by the ECA number, the company name, the mailing address, and the email associated with that particular ECA. So I can select our particular carrier, TT Transportation, by selecting the radio button again. So at this point, we've been prompted to review the information of the carrier that we have selected. As you'll see, some of the information here has been pre-filled based upon the information that was included on the carrier ECA. We can of course use this information, or we have the opportunity to make changes if we so choose to. The vehicle information listed here and the driver information are both optional at this stage. So we'll go ahead and just click on Save for now. We do have the option to select multiple carriers for our waste if it's applicable by searching for more carriers the same way as how we identified our first. However, for this particular scenario, we will move forwards to selecting our receiver. So you can see the chevrons at the top of the page have been updated to indicate we're on the intended receiver section. You can search for an intended receiver by these fields listed here. So for this particular case, let's assume that I already know the street address for this particular receiving site. So as I start entering in details of the address here, you'll see that the results populate as I type. So once more, based upon the information I've entered, I'm left with one result. I can review the receiver's ECA number, company name, the receiving facility address, and an email address associated with that intended receiver as well. So once I'm happy with the receiver I want to select, I select it using the radio button here, and then click on Save and Next again. So as you'll see from the chevrons, we're now on the waste information section. So on the waste selection page, I've actually shown the details of the generator facility that I selected in that first step, and I can see the active waste streams that are associated with this particular facility in the table a little bit further down the page here. So I can search for the applicable waste stream for this manifest or by entering in a search term here, Or I can filter it by clicking on the Add Filters button here, and I can choose to filter by waste number, waste class, primary characterization, physical state, hazardous waste number, or a combination of those. So again, in this circumstance, there's actually only 2 waste streams to select from, so I don't actually feel the need to refine this table any further. I can simply select the waste stream that I want to by clicking on the plus icon on the left-hand side of the waste stream. So this particular waste has now been added to the selected waste table. I have the option over here on the right-hand side to remove this particular waste if I've made a mistake, or I can add in more waste streams if required as well, much the same way as how I added the first by selecting one of the plus icons. So for this scenario, we're just transporting one waste stream, so we can proceed again just by clicking on Save and Next here. Here I'm being prompted to enter in the waste shipping information for each of those waste streams that I selected. At the top of each of the selection is going to be a summary of the waste stream I selected, and then further down in the section are the fields for me to actually fill out. Just a note that I do not need to fill out any fields that are marked optional. So for this particular waste stream, the UN number, the shipping name, the class, the packing group, toxic by inhalation, and packaging code fields, those have already been entered by the generator when they created the waste stream in the registry. So I have the option to edit this information if I so choose to do so. And a quick note that this is only going to update the shipping information for this waste stream on this particular manifest. It does not retroactively make any changes to any other shipping information fields on previous manifests with this waste stream, nor is it going to update the shipping information fields on the waste stream itself. I'll also point out that if I try to proceed on this page without completing all of the required fields, by clicking on Save and Next here, you can see that the red shading and the red text is prompting me to fill out those fields that are required. So as you can see here, I still need to enter a quantity shipped. So I can put in a value. I'll select L for liters. And then further down the page, we can start entering in our shipment details. So for the scheduled shipment date, if I click in here, I can select a date. Let's say the shipment date is tomorrow. And then the scheduled arrival date is going to be the day after that. So now that I'm happy with all the information that I've put on the shipping information page, I can click Save and Next once more, and I can proceed to the review section of the manifest. So here we are on the manifest review page, and there's a couple of things that I want to highlight here. First of all, the notification bar at the top of the page is indicating with a green check mark that all is good, and I've included all of the required information. Over here on the right-hand side, the status of this manifest is currently draft, which means that I, as the initiator, can make any changes that I need to. In the tracking information section here, this is going to update as various parties to the manifest take their actions or if they make changes to the manifest. So here you can see when the manifest was initiated, by who, from what company, and at what date or time. Further down the page, I can access an Overview tab, which is open by default, or the Waste tab. The Overview tab has the generator, the carrier, and the receiver information listed. So I can click on these edit buttons to go back to any of those sections and make any changes that I need to. Going back up the page, if I select the Waste tab here, this shows the shipment information and also the shipping information for each of the selected wastes on this particular manifest. Again, going back up the page again, just to highlight that I can click this Cancel Manifest button if I've made an error and I want it removed from my account. But again, a quick note that this is not going to be an option if the manifest has already been signed. So once I'm ready to proceed, I can click the Ready for Signatures button. And what this is going to do is enable both the generator and the carrier to sign their manifest. So when the page reloads, you'll see that the status has updated to awaiting signatures. This means that we're waiting for both the generator and the carrier to sign for this manifest. Now, as my carrier, my company, Hughes and Hatcher Inc., is listed as a generator, I can actually sign this manifest at this point as a generator by clicking on the Sign Manifest button. I should review the text and the information included in this declaration before checking to agree and then clicking Confirm. So you will note that the status has updated again, this time to awaiting carrier signature, and you'll note that the tracking information has also been updated to reflect when I actually signed the manifest. So let's jump into the mobile application now, and we'll demonstrate what a carrier using the mobile application would see at this point. So in this particular screen, you can see that I'm logged in here as Jerry Morgan from TT Transportation, and here's a list of manifests associated with my account. Right at the top, you'll see that there is an option to tap to update the manifest list and the time that this list was last updated. So I tap to update the manifest list. You'll see now at the top of this page, there's a new manifest with the status of awaiting carrier signature. That's the one that we just created as the generator. So I can access this particular manifest simply by pressing on it, and that's going to take me to a review page. So right at the top of the page here, you can see that I'm immediately being informed if I'm missing any information from the manifest by the notification bar. And you can also see a red dot next to the vehicle text here, indicating that there is missing information here about the vehicle. Indeed, if I actually do try to click on the Sign Manifest button at the bottom of the page, it's not actually going to allow me to do it. And instead, it's going to take me right to the section that's missing the information as indicated by that red dot. So in this scenario, let's review the rest of the manifest information on the mobile device first before we go back to entering in that vehicle information. To do this, I'm just going to simply select the tab at the section I wish to go to. So if I select the Overview tab on this left-hand side here. So exactly like the desktop application, I can see the tracking information at the top of the page here. And as I scroll a bit further down, I can see more information about the generator, the carrier, and then, of course, the intended receiver. If I click on the Waste tab here, this is showing me the shipment details and the waste shipping information for the waste listed on this manifest. So let's click on the Vehicle tab now. The Vehicle tab allows me to edit and enter in details about myself as the carrier. So I can adjust the contact details as listed here, and I can also choose to add the vehicle information of the vehicle that will be transporting this waste. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to enter in this information here. I can select the province or state by choosing the drop-down arrow and then choosing one of the provinces, like so. When I'm happy with all of this information, I'm going to click on Sign Manifest. Once more, I'm going to review the declaration text. I'm going to click on the checkbox, and then I'm going to click on Confirm. So now I can see that the manifest has been signed successfully by this pop-up, and I can press Close. So the manifest status has now been updated to in transit, as you can see in the green box at the top of the page here. And in this scenario, I would be responsible for the transportation of this waste along to its intended receiver. So let's say along this process, there could be a circumstance where I need to be able to change the intended receiver for this particular manifest. As I scroll down the page here, you'll see that the only section that I can actually change at this point is the intended receiver information as indicated by this green pencil icon and the edit word. If I press edit on this particular section, I have the opportunity to search for a new intended receiver, much the same way that our generator Carolyn did when she initiated the manifest initially. So let's search for a new receiver's address. I'll just enter that information in here. There we go. So as I was typing, you can see that a receiver address has popped up here for Miller Solutions, and the receiver ECA is listed there on the right-hand side. I can select the new intended receiver simply by clicking on it once and then pressing select. As you'll see here now in the intended receiver information section, you can see that the company name has been updated to Miller Solutions, and that new receiving site address for me to take this waste to has been updated as well. So now I carry along my journey, and then once I arrive at the receiving site, I can click on the Confirm Drop-Off button here. So once I've read the text and click on Confirm, you'll see a pop-up to confirm that the drop-off has happened, like so, and I can press Close to close this pop-up. If I scroll back up to the top of this page now on this particular manifest, you'll see that the notification bar now is alerting me to the fact that a correction was made. And I can press this View Correction History link at the top here to show details about the corrections that were actually made. So I'll press Close at the bottom of this here to take me back to the manifest page. As you can see in the green box here at the top, it says awaiting receiver signature. So that status has been updated. So now let's change across to the receiver screen and show what our receiver would see at this point. Okay, so now I'll just point out that we're logged in as James Miller from Miller Solutions. That's our new intended receiver. So we'll access the Hazardous Waste Program dashboard. And then from the dashboard, I can click in to the manifest number to review information about that particular manifest. So the notification bar at this point on the review page is alerting me to the fact that there are wastes that I must review before signing the manifest, which we'll get to in a second. I also just want to point out that in the tracking information here, it clearly shows how after the carrier signed the manifest, it was rerouted and eventually it was dropped off here with those corrections issued by the carrier. So to review the information of the wastes that are dropped off, I can click on the Waste tab here. But you may also note that this new tab here, Corrections, that wasn't here initially. The Correction tab, if I click on it here, the Correction tab will show a list of the corrections that have been made to a manifest with a summary of the action, the detail, and the change in values. The user can click on the value in the detail column, like so, to open a modal with more information about this particular correction. As you can see here, we have the details of the correction, who the correction was made by, and then when. But of course, as the receiver, I still need to review the waste on this manifest, so I can do that by accessing the Waste tab. So each waste that has been added to the manifest will be listed here. And this is very similar to what we saw before when we were looking at this from the generator perspective. But just to point out that there is an orange hazard icon here, which indicates which waste I've yet to make an accept or refuse decision on. So after reviewing information about this particular waste, I can click on either accept or refused. So for this scenario, I will choose to accept this waste. So what I'm looking to do here is acknowledge that I have received the full amount that was listed as shipped by entering in a quantity received that matches that of the quantity shipped. A very easy way to do that is to click on this Copy Quantity Shipped link here, and you can see the same values from quantity shipped have been populated here in the quantity received fields. Next, I enter in a handling code from the drop-down menu, and then I can click on Save. just a quick note here that the notification bar is now saying that the manifest is awaiting receiver signature, and I can click on the Sign Manifest button to add my signature as the receiver. So no further changes can be made after this point. So I want to make sure that everything is correct before checking the attestation over here and then clicking on Confirm. Now, of course, because this manifest was corrected, and because it's very important that all of the parties are made aware of any of these corrections, they will need to sign to acknowledge those corrections. In this case, it was a change in a receiver. This is why the manifest status has updated to corrected awaiting generator signature. It is not yet complete. The generator still needs to review those corrections and sign off on them. So we'll go back to our generator account. Like so. Just go back to the dashboard here. So back to our Carolyn Smith as our generator, Hughes and Hatcher Inc. You can see our manifest is sitting here with a status of corrected awaiting generator signature. So once more, we can click into the review page for that particular manifest by clicking on the manifest number. Once more, you'll see the notification bar at the top alerting us that we need to sign off on those corrections. And this time, as I scroll down, you'll see that the default of these three tabs that is open is the Corrections tab. And as we saw before, here's where we can see a summary of the corrections that have been made to this particular manifest. So if I'm happy with all of the corrections that have been made, I can scroll back up to the top, and the signature that I can apply now is to sign off on those corrections. So I'll review the confirmation text down below. Once I'm happy with that, I'll click on Sign Off on Corrections, review the attestation for checking the checkbox, and clicking on Confirm. It's only at this point that the manifest status has updated itself to completed. And as you can see, any fee amounts that are applicable for this particular manifest will be added to my invoice at the end of the current month. So this concludes our video demonstration on completing a manifest with a change of intended receiver. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.